Hey guys, Mike here from the Unchained Teacher, and today what I want to do is talk to you about the question: Is teaching for me? If you're like me, you've probably asked this question a lot. I've asked it every year, and three of the things that come up the most from me and from other teachers that I've heard from is I'm overworked, I don't feel supported, and I don't make enough money. Right? If that's you, if you've said those things before, I'm going to talk about a couple. I'm going to talk about all those things today, and hopefully kind of work through what this is for me, how it affects you, and so on. So, if you haven't already, go ahead and download my free guide, "The 5 Things Great Teachers Get Right." If you feel like you're struggling or you're dealing with these questions, what I found is that by becoming a better teacher, some of these questions start to get worked out themselves. So it's a free guide. It's super quick. It's a guide that I have created based on observing veteran teachers. So over the years, I've spent a lot of my prep hours observing great teachers in the 3 buildings I've worked at. And I noticed that many of them were doing these 5 things or variations of these 5 things. And they're items that I have implemented into my classroom that has tremendously helped my teaching. And I want to share those with you in that guide. So that is in the description below. And at the same time, I've created a new Facebook group to support new teachers, whether it's your first, second, third year teaching, or maybe you are transitioning into teaching from a different career, or maybe you're just switching grade levels and you want some support and how to do that. So it's a place to share our wins, share our losses, walk alongside each other, give support, and really help us on this journey. I know that it feels a little weird, at least for me, to be in a building with hundreds of people, but yet feel alone when you're teaching and kind of feel like you're on an island. So this group was designed and built to give support to people who would like it. So looking back at my list here, the first one is teaching for me is I'm overworked. So if you're like me, I jumped into teaching. I grew up playing sports, so I thought about coaching. And right away, I was giving 3 different classes to teach. So taught 5 hours throughout the day, and 3 of them, and I had 3 different classes. So I had 3 different things to prep for. One being a freshman algebra class. I had 2 of those. A freshman biology class. I had 2 of those. And then a senior level personal finance class. So right away, I had 3 different things to prep for every single day. And I had great teams for all of them, but yet it was a lot to take on right away. I was really hoping for 2 or 1 preps throughout the day, but was given 3. That's the job I was given, and I was thankful to have a job. But right away, I found myself every day feeling stressed about the amount of planning that I had to do. So that was kind of the start. Then also, our school decided not to use the textbook anymore. So they basically said when I was hired that, hey, we got rid of the textbook. You are going to be creating what you want. Isn't that great? You get to teach. As long as you're teaching the standards, we're going to pull together some free content, and you're going to build that throughout the year. And some people love that idea. They're like, I don't want to teach out of a textbook. I want to use my own stuff. But me being a brand new teacher, I didn't know how to do any of this, right? I was not a curriculum director or anything like that. I knew math, right? I knew science, I knew biology, but I didn't know how to create stuff, nor did I really want to, right? And you're going to have to create stuff throughout the way, but I didn't think I would have to create a textbook. So that came up, and I was pretty anxious, pretty stressed out. And I worked all the time, right? I would do my prep hour. That definitely was not enough. I would stay till 5 o'clock most nights, go home, work some more at home after dinner. And then on top of that, they really needed coaches. And I decided to coach 8th grade basketball in the winter. And then I was a freshman baseball coach. So not only was I teaching 3 classes, but then I coached 2 different sports. And I was drowning. And so if you're in a situation like that where you feel overworked and you are considering getting out of teaching, I totally understand it. And I've done it a lot. But what I've figured out for me, at least throughout the years, is that one, I need to lean on my teaching partners, right? That doesn't mean to give up everything to them. I actually, I had a teacher confront me that I wasn't doing enough work, right, for the team. And that was something that I'm embarrassed to say, but at the same time, I think has made me a better teacher that she was so honest with me, because I think what it did was it helped me realize that I'm taking on too much, right? Or at least I don't have good systems to do as much as what I'm doing. Um, what I also found out from that experience was that coaching, as much as I love sports and I love guiding people through an experience like sports, for example, um, 3 classes and coaching was too much for me. Now, some people do it great, but for me, I didn't feel like I was doing anything right. I wasn't teaching right. I wasn't um, being a good coach the right way. And so, what I ended up doing is I said, you know what? I'm going to give up. Let's go from 2 sports to one. So I ended up giving up baseball, just focusing on basketball. Um, and that seemed to help decrease my workload. But at the same time, I got better at my processes and routines throughout the year, right? It's a lot to take on. Teaching is a lot to take on at the beginning of your career. But over time, you start to figure out what is efficient, what are the routines you want, how am I going to spend my prep hour, right? And so your workload starts to decrease a little bit. So I would say if you are thinking, or sitting there thinking, is teaching for me? I'm so overworked. Um, you got to let yourself get into that point where things aren't new anymore, right? Just like anything else, just like a brand new car, right? A brand new car feels sweet. Not like I've ever had that, but I can imagine that it's sweet. But then over time, it just is your car, right? It's what you drive to work. It's what you drive to gatherings. It's what you drive to the grocery store, right? It becomes just your normal car. Same thing with teaching. Everything's brand new. It's shiny, right? It's overwhelming. But then over time, you start to build your routines and strategies, and you become less overworked, right? And then hopefully get to a point where you are feeling comfortable with the amount of workload that you have. Number 2 is I don't feel supported. For me, and what I've heard from a lot of teachers is that you are in your classroom and you feel like you're on an island. Even if you have a great team, you maybe don't feel supported in your classroom because it's hard to ask questions throughout the day when you have 5 minutes in between classes, lunch period. You don't want to talk about all of your struggles, right? So the feeling of not being supported is big. And for some schools, I feel very lucky. I'm in a school now where I feel very supported by my teachers and administration. But I've heard stories of people where the administration is not supporting them. The teachers are being very secretive about, helping them out, not collaborating. And so that can be a big deal. So some people ask, is teaching for me? I'm not feeling supported. What I did is, if you don't feel supported in your school, maybe look outside of your school, maybe look to another district, or maybe you reach out to the school you went to and ask people in your content area, hey, can you share a few things with me? Can you share some of your lesson plans or tips on how you teach or tips on how you do this or that? That way you can be supported from other people. Again, it's great if you're supported at your school, but I get that that's not the reality. And that's also why I created that Facebook group. I feel like if your school's not going to be supportive, come to this Facebook group. We'll support you. Not only me, I think supporting each other, right, is a big deal, and build a community around that. And that's why I created that group, because people kept saying, I don't feel supported at my school. I don't feel important at my school. And we want to do that. We want to make you feel that way so that you can be the best teacher you can be, right? And then number 3, I don't make enough money. I totally get this. Never seems like there's enough money, right? It always seems like you get paid on a Friday and bills run out, the Thursday before you get paid again. And so what I like to think about this one, it's something that I've thought a lot about, especially when you see friends who are making double, triple, quadruple what you're making. They seem to have a little bit more freedom. They work from home, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? I grew up with a dad who is a salesman, makes great money, has a free car, free gas, free computer, free phone. My father-in-law's in real estate, right? Same kind of deal. A lot of friends who are doing really well for themselves. And sometimes it felt weird that, like, you're making a teacher's salary, which is not a bad salary, but when compared to other people's, it really feels not not the best, right? But then over the years, when you think about what you're getting with the pension, if you're in a public school, health insurance, um, and just some of these things that people, if you really look into it, people at other jobs are not getting. I've heard it adds about $15,000 to your salary. Now, again, maybe that's not enough for you. I get it. I've thought about it a lot as well. But I think the longer you stay in it, obviously, the more you make. And if you are getting part of that pension and that health insurance, it really does make a big deal down the road. But I think these are good questions to ask so that you can really see, is this something for me? Is it not? Now, to kind of counter this in the same way, there are a lot of teachers I know who make a lot of money on the side. I have a teacher I work with now who makes an extra 20 plus grand a year teaching about project-based learning, something he does in his class. A couple other teachers make $10,000 during the year online teaching through a site called Michigan Virtual. Happened during COVID. They still need teachers to do it. Other teachers, they coach all year and make extra money doing that, an extra 10 grand. Again, not everybody wants to coach, but there are things out there where you can support students and make some money. I have some teacher friends who have a pressure washing business on the side. And they're making 20, 25 extra grand, right? So they're all things where you kind of have to hustle, right? But if you love teaching, but you want to make more money, I would encourage you to find ways to make money, either using your teaching skills or maybe doing something that you enjoy on the side to make that and give this career a shot so that you don't just throw it away and wish you maybe didn't do that. So those are my tips for is teaching for me. I'd love to hear whether you agree or not in the comments below. Or if you have any other ideas on these three subjects or any others. So again, if you haven't joined that Facebook group, feel free to join that in the description below. And then download that free guide titled 5 Things Great Teachers Get Right to help you out in the classroom. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you soon.